This isn't concerning something current. It's about something historical. Concerning an occurrence that occurred 6 years ago. Lisa, my first wife at the time, resurfaced after abandoning me for a younger man. After 6 years, when I was 41 years old. Old, married, and had a lovely daughter. This story was about a boy who was about to turn one. Brings us back to my early 30s when I was 29 years old when I married my first wife, Lisa. Lisa, who was 23 at the time, was my first encounter. We met at some point and instantly. Lisa has only recently begun her. While I was in college, I pursued a profession as a fashion designer, starting a business after 5 years. Years of experience in the software industry. The company was not making me millions of dollars, but was performing admirably for a novice, giving enough income to live comfortably. Because of this, the specifics are a little hazy. The passage of time, however, after a few moments. Lisa moved into my house after months of dating. I was living alone in an apartment at the time. Looking back, she was a lovely lady. I learned that one of the most important. Her lively personality was one of the reasons I fell in love with her. She had an outgoing personality. Even at first glance, extremely gorgeous. At that party, she stuck out to me. Admit it may appear shallow, but when you're young, and 29 is still a young age. As I've mentioned before, maturity frequently comes later in life. Discovered we dated for 2 years and then Lisa desired a grandiose wedding. She was infatuated with fairy tale weddings. She had meticulously planned her. She has had a fantasy wedding since she was a child. Girl. It stuck with me since it was a substantial hole in my finances, despite the fact that I didn't really comprehend it at the time. Overly preoccupied with striving to be flawless. Lisa's boyfriend/husband. Our first 2 years of marriage were hilarious. I can't think of any that were serious disagreements at the time. However, things began to alter following our Lisa's second anniversary when she joined us. She had a master's degree in fashion, aspirations to work in Hollywood, at least for a local television network. She befriended a young woman in college, crowd in their early 20s with no job. They had youthful experience and unbridled, which excited Lisa, and she began discussing the dangers of marriage too young and, as such, I immediately discarded it as a Phomophobia is a transitory condition. I figured she'd get over it eventually. And discovered that there were more. There are more essential things in life than partying. Having casual flings rather than getting married. She dove deeper into it. She began staying out late as a way of life. Hiking and having unlimited fun. My company had sleepovers throughout those days. Was in its early phases and I was involved. Primarily concerned with commercial problems. Difficulties because I believed my personal life was going swimmingly and I anticipated her completing the 18-month program. Once she has moved away from that lifestyle, despite having completed her education, she stayed on that road after graduating. During the same time span my company, I discovered that I had sustained huge losses. Rather than drowning in debt, she appeared to mock those who offered support. My decision to run a business. I had forgotten that I had been covering her expenditures incurred during her master's program, even when she was working in front of her. My income was significantly lower than his, therefore, I had to warn by the household obligations and gave her permission to utilize. There was a guy who gave her the money from her master's program who got a job. Assistant position at a leading designer. Lisa grew up in a town with a lot of houses. She began to have feelings for this man, drawing parallels between myself and him. From his early professional success to his sense of humor, decision-making abilities. I was also physically fit back then. I used to work 12 to 14-hour days to establish my company and frequently I neglected my health and was not advised to do so. lacked a nicely toned body aura. I had a chiseled jawline, yet I wasn't obese. I was, admittedly, really busy and tired from work, which she discovered. Eventually, she discovered it uninteresting. Comfort in the fact that he was an intern. Lisa had lots of time on her hands. Maybe he had a good sense of humor. Other characteristics she sought. I arrived home one day to find a message. The statement was posted on my refrigerator. I'm sorry I can't do something like this. Thus, I'm leaving this note for you. I'm leaving you because I no longer love you. Leo the guy makes me happy and please do not call if you do not laugh. I won't respond because I'm not available. They may not be precise words, but they convey the message. In essence, I was crushed, and my world had come crashing down around me. However, as they say, flipped upside down. I channeled my grief through difficult times into my company, and it was during that time. As my company started to thrive, it quickly turned out to be a blessing. I encountered Sophie in disguise 2 years later. We met at a business meeting and became pals. We began dating and are now happily married. I'm married and have a 10-month-old daughter. Sophie's life could not be better. Lisa now possesses all of the attributes that she lacked. Most essential, kind, and kind. I had almost forgotten she was my friend. The information I just shared until now. Something happened last week that sparked. Lisa's memories resurfaced in my mind. Yes, my first wife, who abandoned me for a while. A younger man arrived at my office. Initially, I was unable to get assistance. I recognize her as the lovely Lisa. I used to notice how pale and unhappy she appeared, with a 3-year-old daughter and an infant son. If the infant is only a few months old, I hadn't noticed her in the waiting room. I may have denied meeting her. She appeared pitiful at the time. She broke down in my office and left. Her kid was waiting in the lobby. ENTE'd with her young kid on numerous occasions, apologizing and crying as if overwhelmed. It hurt to see her after 6 years. The last time I saw him, he was really emotional. I adored her, but we were finally meeting. As strangers with no in-between, had not had the opportunity to either dislike or despise her, or see her dark side, she explained. That when she got home, she realized that the house had been sold. Lisa and I used to reside in this house, which I sold when Sophie and I married. I had acquired a larger house for my second wife. House with improved facilities in a superior. Lisa, my next-door neighbor, was completely oblivious to my existence. She revealed Leo's marital status, mistreated her following their daughter's death, and suspected he had cheated on her when she was pregnant with her. When I approached him, he insulted and mocked me. Her for her advancing age and diminishing beauty as she was 6 years younger and attempting to make a living. She makes a decent living and is completely dependent on him. Notwithstanding his stupidity, she identified herself, as well as a second pregnancy and childbirth. Pathetic, with Leo not even attending. He called the hospital nasty names, such as a fat aunt and an oldie feeling. She wanted to leave Led because she felt embarrassed. I had previously abandoned him as well. I wished for her to have a bad life. Hearing about her after she left me. Actual anguish did not put me here. It made me feel sorry for myself. She went into an apologetic mode, begging for forgiveness, blaming her. Karma's misfortune for causing me pain, acknowledged for being inexperienced and immature, unable to discriminate between right and wrong, and the wrong people at the time, I reassured. I apologized to her and forgave her, informing her that she had moved on. She grasped my hands and sobbed, and pleaded with me to take her back, saying, I withdrew my hand in order to be the best wife possible, and admitted I was already married, and had a child transform a family photograph. She gazed at the frame that was facing her. I looked at her closely and cried again. I didn't know what more to say, so I remained silent. She stepped up and said, I'm sorry. Her final hope. But after seeing the picture, she appeared to have none left. I stayed silent, and she eventually went. When Lisa left, I immediately contacted Sophie. I told her everything I knew. I was unable to concentrate at work, and Sophie, who was clearly upset, attempted to, reminding me that I wasn't alone. Lisa was to blame for her problems. I agreed that she brought them on herself. I know Lisa was the source of her own problems. I was expecting Lisa to contact me. I have no idea why she never did again. I've moved on from my love life to where she is today. So is my daughter, but I can't stop myself, considering Lisa and the unfortunate. I've spoken with her about the circumstances she's in. This extensively with Sophie over the. I learned last week that Sophie is more of a. I'd rather have a friend than a wife, but I don't want to be a burden to her by continuously. When it comes to Lisa, she is a confident woman, but as a human being, I don't want her to. I believe I am still concerned about Lisa. I no longer have feelings for Lisa, but her unexpected reappearance and the disclosure of her terrible life has left. It's been over 5 years since my disturbed update. Months since I told you about my ex-wife who had abandoned me. Returned to my life explanation, requesting that I return her after I told her about my second wife, and she disappeared and did not contact me, my daughter, until she appeared a few days ago. I was in a meeting at work when my aide presented a message that stated, Lisa, my ex-wife, was there to greet me. Regardless of the importance of the meeting, hearing her name made it difficult for me too. I finished the meeting and went home. Lisa appeared much more when she saw her. She was more distressed than the last time we met. Explained that after learning about she had returned to Leo after her marriage, but her situation had suddenly deteriorated, discovering Leo's involvement when she was with other women from his office. When faced with his infidelity, he admitted to having several affairs, stating Lisa was no longer a child. When appealing to him, she revealed things had reached a tipping point. Lisa was violently abused by him, asked for financial assistance from me, stating that she had been looking for work but had been unsuccessful. She hadn't worked in 3 years, since she became pregnant with her first child. Kid and the employment disparity, limiting her work opportunities. Her words revealed that Leo had never. He married her since he did not believe he had duped her into a marriage. When they first started dating, they made this arrangement, which is why she earlier mentioned, as well as, she now lamented her lack of sophistication. Decision since she cannot marry unless she marries. Would not be entitled to any financial compensation. If they had separated, they would have received support. If she had been married, she could have received. I inquired about her alimony payment. Although she stayed silent, I made the decision to send her a check for $30,000, indicating that this was As part of my assistance, I advised her to use it to rent a motel and start a new business, advising her to look for any employment to maintain her lifestyle, even if it means she wasn't in the fashion industry, thanked me for the money and walked away. I was hesitant to inform Sophie about my meeting with Lisa, but after careful thinking, I decided to share it to avoid any potential strain on our relationship. When I came home, I had connection that Sophie saw my apathy one day and inquired if something bothered me. I told her. Sophie's response to Lisa's request for money. She was restrained in her reply and did not comment on the money, but warned me not to, making borrowing a habit for Lisa. I didn't become upset with Sophie because of me, because I recognized her anxieties and I believe that was a normal reaction on her part. I assured her that I had no lasting problems. I had feelings for Lisa and she was only helped because she was desperate. Sophie was feeling a little sad in this circumstance. I had an initial but rapidly recovered update. I'd like to respond to some of the comments that have been made. Some comments have been made in the discussion section. Some of you have urged that I continue. Have feelings for Lisa and believe. Might take her back or cheat on her. Let me confirm it with Sophie. These statements are completely false. Assuming I was merely wrong. Lisa's sudden behavior stunned me. Appearance that I had never expected. Her showing up in such a state even. I wasn't present at our subsequent meeting. I assisted because I was excited to see her. I assisted her in the same way that I would have assisted anyone else. While I've moved on, I've helped a person in need. I'll never forget how she used to treat me. Me being so dismissive and ultimately leaving me, especially given everything I've been through, had done for her throughout that time. It's the most difficult period of my life. It's never easy to be abandoned after 4 years. Years of marriage, so you can be confident that I have. I have no intention of risking my position. I'm having a great time with Sophie. I am aware of the boundaries and must respect. I'd like to underline the importance of sticking with Lisa, that this is not a negative reaction to. I simply wanted to respond to anyone's comments. Clarify my position, and I will provide. If there are any more updates, report on key developments. I appreciate all of your comments. Have aided in keeping me grounded and accountable as a result of my clarification. In the previous update, I also discussed. I assured Sophie of this situation. My steadfast love and dedication to our marriage while she is a confident woman. Wanted to make certain there were no doubts about my objectives and sentiments. It felt immensely liberating to be with her. Sophie stated that she had faith in me, but had reservations regarding the likelihood of me. Sophie was there to reconcile with Lisa. For me in my darkest hours, and she is my daughter's mother. I never let her down, and a week later I repaid her. Lisa sent me a note begging for help. Help with the rental process for. I informed her that I was going to her residence, occupied and unable to participate. She continued to text me about similar stuff, asserting that she felt lonely and that essentially, life had become terrible. She was attempting to present herself as I can tell you that I ignored the victim. Her letters were treated as spam, but she continued to contact me, and I was grateful. She caught me off guard when she began sending romantic emojis and flirting with me. I communicated my feelings with love icons, and she expressed her displeasure and urged her to stop. Insisted on maintaining contact as pals. However, I stated that I already had a buddy at home, and I didn't. She backed off short because she needed another, but then forwarded me several romantic posts, and I warned her again that I would. If she keeps addressing it, block her. That my wife Sophie was uneasy. I didn't want to interfere with our conversation. To annoy her, she ceased after that final. My anniversary was last week, and I had big plans. I planned something special for Sophie. A last-minute excursion to the Bahamas. Her expression when I told her location and publicizing it via social media. We stayed in a nice beachside hotel as media. The royal suite dined by candlelight. Participated in a floating in the woods brunch buffet on the water, as well as participated in a variety of romantic activities. I'm not normally active in the Caribbean. However, this time I posted on social media. Yes, photos with poignant captions, partially to demonstrate to Lisa that I don't mind if people think I'm immature, but I did it to ensure Lisa understood what I was saying. Sophie makes me happy, and you know that. What it did after seeing those pictures. Lisa never contacted me again, and she unfollowed me on all social media platforms. I felt relieved that she was using social media networks. I hoped she wouldn't annoy me. Any further updates? Hey, and thank you. All the best wishes, and yes, our vacation too. In terms of my trip, the Bahamas was amazing. In the current situation, I had hoped that Lisa would get the hint and stop bothering me. I was misinformed about a couple things. She returned to my workplace a few days ago. when my assistant told me she was. I purposefully delayed her arrival. For a few hours in our prior encounters, I had met her immediately, which may have sent the incorrect signal. When I finally met her, I pretended to be busy and didn't pay much attention to what she said. She was in tears again, claiming her life was falling apart, and she couldn't stop it. I inquired about her ability to adequately care for her children, because she needs to get to the point swiftly. I was pressed for time, and her cheeks flushed. She was clearly dissatisfied with my tone. Straight to the point money request. Sophie had forewarned me about Lisa's. Financial requests should not become a source of contention. Pattern, and it appeared that she was. Rather than asking, she makes demands. Mentioned the necessity for a house or, at the very least, $100,000 when my income was adequate. House or that much money was still a possibility. I informed her that I had received substantial cash. Couldn't afford to provide her with a home or the sum of money she specified, requiring approximately $60-70 to reactivate her lives, including purchasing a home. Other costs, as well as enrolling her. I'm not sure if she has any school children. I told her I felt she deserved my money. I was sympathetic to her, yet that didn't mean she could demand whatever she wanted. I don't owe her anything, I promise. After all, she was the one who abandoned me for a new and different way of life. I was irritated by the demand, so I questioned it. How could she think she was entitled to my money? And how I was to blame for her death had already aided her out of goodwill. Nothing else. She burst into tears when I suggested that. I got tired of her charity attitude. Dramatics, I was no longer sad for her. I had previously given her enough money to cover her expenses, rent a place and hunt for work, but she hadn't done it when she was finished. She instantly grabbed my hand, crying, and questioned whether you really meant what you stated. I informed her that it was a charitable organization. To me, every phrase meant nothing. However, as a gesture of charity, she sobbed and, I know you're lying, but you're still lying. I pushed her hand away because I loved her. I warned her not to touch me again. I made it clear that I only liked Sophie, and I was able to express myself to my daughter. I vented my rage and gave her a piece of my mind, reminded her that she had made a decision. Younger partner over me, dismissing my. She had created sentiments and emotions in her. She had made a decision, and now she had to live with it. She got to her feet and accused me of embarrassing her when she arrived, requesting assistance. I informed her that I was finished with. I had done everything I could to avoid becoming her victim. Possibly help her now that she was making an attempt to take advantage of me, and I let her manipulate me, and I made it plain that I did not want to jeopardize my marriage, that I wasn't deafeningly. After this, she stormed out of my office. I yelled at her not to show up. Her gaze returned to me, but she did not answer. However, she shut my office door behind her. It appeared that she had not acquired humility from her agony, but it was her decision. As for me, I'm done with her. Instructed my front desk not to allow Lisa to no longer enter the workplace. If she tries to enter, she will be denied. I've also blocked her on all social media platforms. There is no way to communicate via communication platforms. I have a fantastic opportunity for her to contact me. Sophie and my life, touch wood. My daughter and I will not let my past interfere with our future. Okay, that was a fun story. Now let's move on. Continue to another exciting one. Tune in and let's dive into second story I can't believe I'm caught up in a situation like this. I haven't truly spoken to anyone about what occurred. Even if many people are striving to talk to me, I think I just need to let off some steam before discussing it with anyone. My girlfriend and I were together for 4 years, and we were engaged to be married last weekend. She had her bachelorette party, and I didn't have any issues with it, especially after hearing What was the plan? She and some friends were going to rent an Airbnb or something similar, a spacious place with about 4 bedrooms just to have a wild party and hang out. On the date of the party, she was at my place, a 2-bedroom apartment where one room serves as my home office. I work as a self-employed investor. She took care of all the arrangements and then went to meet her friends. We exchanged a few texts, but as the party got going and our messages stopped, and I assumed they were just having a good time. After midnight, I started getting ready for bed and noticed that the computer in my office wasn't turned on. Off the screen was just displaying a screensaver. It turns out my fiance hadn't logged out, and her messenger was still open on the computer. There was a group chat where she and her friends had been planning everything, and they had uploaded several videos to the chat. I got a bit curious and started watching some of the videos. Most of them were pretty innocent, just a group of 15 girls getting drunk, smoking, dancing, and having fun. Then I came across a video where a woman went to the front door and about 10 guys entered the apartment. I didn't know any of them and I couldn't recognize anyone. There were a couple of videos showing the guys and girls dancing and drinking. Then the worst part happened. There was a video of my fiancé making out with one guy on the sofa. She stopped and rolled over, then started making out with a second guy following. That there was a video of her and they 2 guys were going into a bedroom, and there was also a video of them coming out, although the timestamps indicated it was just 5 minutes later, but that didn't mean much. For all I knew, those videos could have been taken an hour apart and uploaded together. Seeing all of this hit me like a sledgehammer. I went into the bathroom because I thought I was going to be sick. Even though I wasn't, I felt like I paced back and forth in the apartment for about 30 minutes. Then I poured myself a glass of whiskey and downed it. I saved the videos and made one of my own short selfie video where I said hi to this. Is my name your ex-fiance? I just wanted to say that I saw the videos from the party and the wedding is off. I hope it was worth it. And I'm relieved I saved the videos because they were all deleted in less than 10 minutes and my phone started buzzing with calls and texts. Chose not to answer any of them. Initially, it was just my girlfriend texting, saying she can explain and that it's not what it appeared to be. Then friends started chiming in as well. However, I ignored everyone and didn't respond. Suddenly, I received a request for a video chat, and I must admit my curiosity got the best of me. I accepted the call but remained silent. It was my fiancé on the other end, sitting in front of the camera, looking like she had been crying with her friends surrounding her. I only really know about 4 of them friends, but I recognized many others. She began by apologizing repeatedly and insisting that it wasn't what it seemed and that it was just a party. She claimed the guys showing up was unplanned, acknowledged that it might have looked bad, but nothing actually happened. When I stayed silent, she continued in a similar vein, and her friends backed up her story. The more I remained quiet, the more frantic she eventually became, admitted to kissing the 2 guys, but shifted the blame onto her friends, who surprisingly took responsibility for. She argued that the kisses didn't mean anything, and that was the extent of. It was then that she seemed to recall the video of her going into the bedroom and started shouting that it was merely a joke and that nothing happened. The other women echoed her, confirming that it was indeed just a prank, and my fiancé had walked into the room and promptly walked out again. This went on and on with them, repeating themselves. Finally, everyone fell silent, and all I asked was if there was anything else to add. She said no, and I ended the video call. I went on social media, and updated my relationship status. To single along with a post announcing the cancellation of the wedding, I even jokingly mentioned that if anyone had bought a gift, they were welcome to return it. My fiance saw the post and started panicking even more, insisting that she had only kissed someone nothing more. I sent her a text warning that if I suspected her or any of her friends were lying or trying to paint me as the villain, I would post all the videos online right now no one else is aware of what's happening. This all happened a couple of days ago, and I've since canceled everything related to the wedding. However, my fiance continues to pursue me. Any advice on what I should do? Next update. The update is quite straightforward. Everything has been called off and canceled. The wedding is officially not happening. I've retrieved the ring and all of her belongings are now moved out. She's currently staying with her parents. We did have a conversation mostly consisting of her begging, apologizing, and crying. She keeps insisting that all she did was kiss those guys. She claims she's never done anything like this before and promises it won't happen again. Part of me wanted to believe her, but the issue is that this incident has cast doubt on our entire relationship. While I think she may be telling the truth, the real problem is that there's no way to know for sure if it's true that her friends pressured her into it. Then how can I trust that they've never done it before? We went in circles because ultimately there's no way to be certain she offered to do anything, including cutting ties with her friends and only drinking around me. She publicly criticized her friends online, saying that if the party had stuck to the original plan, we would still be getting married. So perhaps she has already distanced herself from them all. I can say for now is that I'm single and I plan to focus on living my life. I'll likely take some time for myself after ending a 4-year relationship. What's astonishing is that a couple of her friends have also been texting me just to talk. I haven't responded yet because, well, it's hard to trust them too. Thanks again to everyone who expressed sympathy, and I hope none of you have to deal with something like this in the